All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Top Bin Talks presented by FTF Canada. I'm one of your co-hosts, Adam Jones, joined with the newly signed footballer, Kwame Owua. Kwame, where are you going next?
I have just recently signed for Larin United FC. That is DC United's USL affiliate team. And I'm excited, man. Back on the East Coast, closer to home. And obviously, I said thank you to St. Louis for giving me the opportunity. But yeah, the Midwest was tough. Living in the Midwest was tough. It was definitely being had to adapt and all that stuff. But I'm happy to be joining Loudon and see what I can do this upcoming season. 2-year contract, so a little bit of security, and let's see what I could conjure up in the DMV.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going to DC is kind of cool, and back, you're obviously, like you said, you're closer to home, so it might be a little bit easier for family to be able to travel down and to see more games, which is always nice. And then, man, fuck, USL Championship is a top level too. Like that's going to be a proper game every single week, which will be fantastic. I know MLS Next is probably still in that little bit of a middle zone with where you do play against, when you guys came out and played against the Whitecaps, you guys are playing against a youth team, which is what it's designed for those groups, right? Because they're trying to fit, they're trying to put their own philosophy in with those kids and see if they can translate to the first team. But USL Champ's going to be a fucking great little step for you, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see where you take it.
Yeah, I mean, and you obviously see the difference as well. Like you see, like when we played against Louisville City in the U.S. Open Cup, it was you can see the difference level. Like these are grown men that have played at this level, MLS level, at a long time compared to the St. Louis City 2 team that we had. We had a lot of older guys, but guys that just came fresh from college. So it was almost just playing like a college team with a couple of guys that play have professional experience against guys that have years and years of professional experience. So I mean, it's going to be exciting. There's a lot of games, so I'm excited to play almost every game, and I'm excited to see some of the first team guys from DC United because apparently, like we trained, they were on the same facility. So, I mean, Wayne Rooney's a coach of DC United, so that would be another tick off the box of legendary soccer players that I get to meet. So, yeah, it should be a blast, man. I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Yeah, we need some Wazza stories then, for sure.
For sure.
100%. Get him on the pod. Let's go. Big
Yeah,
guest.
for sure,
Big
bro.
guest.
I'm trying my best, bro. Always. You know me.
No, that's awesome. And then again, so you're one of the players that moved obviously the CPL, rounding kind of into preseason here coming pretty soon. Vancouver United starting to fill their roster out a little bit more with a couple more signings. I think who Rocco Romeo went, who was at Valor, Gabriel Bitar, who was from Edmonton, went there. I want to say someone signed at a League One Ontario, a left back as well.
Yeah.
So again, there's another young kid getting an opportunity, which is great. But yeah, and when we talk about this a little bit, like what were some of the things that you remember about preseason? Obviously, besides the first year where you guys went away with Forge, like what was it kind of like?
Man, the preseason is almost as long as the MLS season, but like I think we have to take into consideration like MLS preseason, 6 weeks, USL preseason 6 weeks. The first year of Forge, 2019, it was like 8 weeks. But that's because Bobby was just a militant about it. So it was like I remember for Forge, I can only speak for Forge. Like the first 3 weeks we trained twice a day, no days off. We didn't have a day off for 3 weeks. And I was like, damn, like I think that's why we started. I think, and everything says it too. I think that's why we started off 2019 season not as good because like we were like peak fitness when we went to Cancun when we had that whole little tournament when all the teams came to Mexico or Dominican. Sorry, it was Dominican. But yeah, we were peak fitness, and then when we came back, and we still had to continue training because the first game wasn't until May or in April 27th or something like that. Like by that time, everybody was like, "Hey, we're exhausted." And then I think learning from that, Bob was able to change the way preseason was, to change the way how much we run, how much we train, how much we do certain things. But preseason is always an exciting time. I mean, as you get older, you learn how to manage it properly. That's the biggest thing. Especially when you come from like college and stuff like that and you're a kid, you always like, I have to prove myself. So you come up flying out the gates, but you have to remember it's a marathon, not a sprint. And as you get older and as your body needs different things and as let's say you make a name for yourself, you're like a solid player within the lineup, like you're able to do certain things where it's like, okay, I don't need to beat the whole beep test or beat the whole yo-yo test. I know what I need to do, and then I'm gonna continue getting my fitness throughout training. Or I know what I need to work on during preseason so that I'm not tiring myself, I'm not burning myself out in preseason. So those are just little nuances that you learn. I mean, it's always tough for the younger kid who's still trying to prove himself, but preseason is a fun time. My biggest advice to people is, man, just go in and have fun and observe the older guys, see what makes them look like, what makes them play a lot easier compared to you. Like, what's making you so tired? Like, what can you fix?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that was actually the other question I had, is like going obviously from a collegiate, or I guess like when you're in youth, like the preseason is not really anything significant. But going from that to then college where it is, and now with all these different levels, is this still the same feeling like walking in preseason? Almost like, okay, here we go. You're with the guys all like 100% of the time. You're all kind of getting fit together. You kind of feels like you're in the trenches.
Yeah, 100%. Because especially in the CPL, because obviously Canada's all cold. Maybe not Vancouver as much, but like everywhere in Canada is just frigid. So like you have nothing but to play soccer. You can't do much outside of soccer. So you're really just always hanging out with the guys, like treatment, gym, field time. Then after that, you just go home and you just run it back again. So it's just like a continuous cycle. I mean, and then like if you look at it in other ways, like obviously in college, you only have 2 weeks to get fit. So like those guys are really pushing the tempo. So they really put an emphasis on off-season preparation to when you go to college. But then when you go to preseason with MLS and USL teams and all that stuff, like they give you the preseason package and they want you to come in fit, but they want you to have a good baseline fitness, because you're always going to be tired when you go into preseason. It's a whole different ball game, because some guys are going to be moving 100 miles per hour. Some guys are going to be like, damn, let me just work with the ball, like make the ball move faster than the man. And then some guys are just going to be not fit. And the coach has to be able to manage that and be able to balance that and be able to get the best out of where everyone is. You know what I mean? Like the average where everyone is, then like you work through that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Especially when you get to like the professional one, because in college it's very
Right
much
away. It's
like
like,
you have to be right away. And whereas when you're dealing with men, it's like, okay, well, you have your decision to make. But if you come in really unfit, unless you're Pirlo or David Villa, who wouldn't come in unfit because they're smart, they're too smart for that. There's a reason why they played so long. Like it's going to impact it. And yeah, you're under contract. You're going to stick it out, and the coach has to stick through it and try and get the best out of you. But that speaks more volumes than anything else, right?
I think just having a good baseline fitness, because you're not going to be as fit as you are in mid-season. So luckily, going into season, you have 6 weeks to maximize how fit you get. So it's like what you are in the first week of preseason, it's just a baseline thing. Like if you're terrible, then all right, like they're gonna be like, okay, nah, you need to fix up. But like if you're at a spot where it's like, all right, like we expected you to be around there, then all right, then we can continue. You can get you higher. But running is just honestly mental. Like when you're running with the ball, it's all mental. So it's just like, damn, do I just keep moving or do I just give up?
Yeah, pretty much. And that's the biggest thing. I always I hate running. I hate it. Just give me the ball. Just
I'm
want the
good at
ball.
running. I'm good at running and I hate it too. Trust me.
Oh, and then you know what, Kwame, let's just jump in. Like obviously the Canadian Championship teams got announced too. So we got the 3 new ones with FC Laval from the PLSQ being announced, TSS Rovers from Vancouver and BC League One being announced, and then obviously Vancouver FC. So it seems like now that the field's rounding out a lot more, which is great. In your opinion, obviously you've played in the Lamar Hunt Open Cup, as I have. And similar to what the FA Cup is in England, where it goes all the way down to every single local team in the US, is that something that you think that this could grow towards, or do you think they have to try and maintain where you keep it at like a semi-professional level?
Like where it goes, because I think really don't get a sense of like the FA Cup, because obviously there's FA Cup ties that we don't even know about, like from like the
Way too
low,
many,
low,
way
like,
too many.
you know what I mean? So like tough getting all of that because obviously there's more teams in, let's say, in Ontario and BC than there is in Alberta and all that stuff. So it's like, okay, how do we manage it where every province is getting equal opportunity at the lower levels to play in the Canadian Championship qualification? And you know what I mean? But so far, I think I think it's really good because it's giving opportunity to some guys who could play at the CPL level, could play, and the guys, CPL guys that could play at the MLS level to show their stuff against the top teams. I think even though like the guys like Man City and those guys have a bye, I still think like Montreal and Toronto, they even though they're the MLS teams, I still think they should be able to go and play against like a League One team or something. You know what I mean? Like it should be like how Man City goes to like Stevenage or some bullshit like that.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think
I think you should be able to like everybody should get that experience against our top tier teams.
yeah, I totally agree. I think
Top
the only
support
the
team,
only
yeah.
way to be able to do that though is you need to get, and so this is kind of why for me, I don't think you can expand it to every single,
Yeah.
like everyone being available, just because I think one thing is, unfortunately, we don't have the field space for it, and everything's run on different seasons, right? So BC runs a different season to everyone else pretty much. So because of weather. So that's one thing. But I do think that you should be able to get it where maybe it's a provincial cup champion or a league champion, they qualify for it. But in order for those teams to say if it's a local team or it's a League One team or it's, you know, whatever, to be able to play CPL or MLS team, you have to grow the tournament to have the volume to where, yeah, it's a whole draw. You're just drawing a name. You know what I mean? Like right now where you do need buys because the volume isn't high enough, they're the ones who deserve a buy. Like the reality is those games are going to sell more tickets than any other game. So for a lower level team, maybe it's a League One team. Well, right now it is a League One team. For them to be able to make any money, they'd rather be like, no, let's play away at an MLS team. Let's go play away there. Because like the way the FA Cup works is that they get a share. So like when those lower level teams go, oh my God, we get to go play at Old Trafford or at the Etihad or at the Emirates, like they get a cut of the revenue. So that makes so much money for them because of the number of people who go to the game and all that, right? So
I mean, let's say Toronto FC was to play York United. If Toronto FC was to play York United at York University, like the atmosphere, just like how people like when Montreal play Halifax in Halifax, like the atmosphere is so unreal that it's like you want to bring those MLS teams to those smaller sides just because like it's gonna sell out, it's gonna be a great atmosphere. Like, it looks worse when like say the other way around. BMO Field is so big, like how many people? There might be a lot of people at the game, more than there would be at Halifax. But like the atmosphere looking like, yeah, the money and the revenue, that all that matters. And you're right, like you're totally right. Like takes into account and helps the other team. But like just in a soccer aspect, you're like, nah, I'd rather go play at Halifax and have the stadium rocking. Like guys be like fans be on top of you, cussing at you, this and that. Then go play in a half empty BMO Field and like it's like, yeah, this is a nice field, it's a nice facility and all that stuff. You feel the professional aspect, but it's like it gives more of an advantage to the MLS team, which they deserve, but like that much better, they should play at these CPL teams.
yeah, no, I don't disagree with that either. Like I really don't disagree
I'm
with
just saying
that.
that from a soccer aspect. I
Yeah.
understand the business side
Oh,
of it.
you no, but you'd also love
Yeah.
to see them go play. So even if it's like the PLSQ team, like where's
Yeah.
their home game? I can go play there. Go like if and again, you have to draw it. So like that's the only thing that I
Yeah.
think I've seen so far is that for a lot of this stuff, it's basically been they've done a draw and oh, this is where you got the buy and this is where you ended up. Like no, like just and again, I think part of it where again we're still at the preliminary stages of this because it's still regionalized. Like the reality is the TSS, they're playing Vancouver FC or they're playing Pacific. They're not playing anyone else. Like they're not going to get drawn against Halifax and have to fly all the way over there or vice versa. Like it's so because it's regionalized right now, it's kind of tough. You kind of do have to do that at the start. And I think the Lamar Hunt Open Cup does it too. Because I remember
it starts the first two rounds are regional. Like so we played against Louisville, so it's like a 4-hour drive. And if we won, we would have played against Nashville, which is another
Yeah.
4 hour drive. But there's just so many teams in America. So that's
But
what
it's
makes
also
all
like
the
the size of the country, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you kind of have to.
yeah.
So from that aspect, I completely understand that here. But at the same time, if you're going to regionalize it, can we grow to a volume where it's like, okay, well, here are 4, 6, or 8 teams in this region. It's a draw. Oh, well, the VMSL, which is the league I play in, the champions of
Mhm.
that league, oh, they drew the Whitecaps.
Damn, yeah. See, and it's like they
There's
got to Whitecaps have to deal with it.
exactly
Yeah.
or it's either at BC Place, which that based on the draw, it's a random draw. Whoever gets home field, it's all randomized, right? Like the FA Cup is. Um, but I
I
would
was gonna.
hope that that's kind of how it would grow. I understand
Mhm,
why it's not there yet,
mhm.
but the hope is that, and again, because I don't think you can open up to just about everyone, because I think from a scheduling standpoint, it's just a nightmare
Yeah, like we forget that Canada's, especially, it's like 6 months winter, on average. So
for
it's
most
hard
of the
to,
country.
yeah. So it's hard to do that. But I was gonna ask you, like, how do you feel about the whole Vancouver FC like team and like the brand? I heard like it's the same owners as Pacific. Not too
Yeah,
sure. I heard from the through
Rob,
the
yeah,
grapevine.
Rob
Rob
owns it.
Friend.
Yeah, Rob Friend
Okay,
owns
yeah.
that one. So,
So like,
um,
yeah. How do you feel like? Obviously, they're gonna be fighting for players within the Vancouver like like. I know it's not that close to downtown Vancouver. It's in Surrey, right?
they're in Langley. Yeah, so it's like probably
45 minutes.
45-minute drive. It's really not that bad. Like it's
Okay.
really not. It's closer, so there's a lot more residential stuff out there. Probably majority of the population, not majority, but a lot of the soccer community would be closer to it. Um, like where the bigger clubs are. They'd be a little bit closer to Langley or in the middle between Langley and downtown. So it's reasonably close. I think the location is honestly perfect for that because it's far enough away from the Whitecaps where if there is a conflict, it's not like that's York's biggest issue,
Yeah,
right? And
100%.
like one of the coolest things about York is I love their setup, how they're at OSA and they're like they train within the community. Anyone can rock
Hmm.
up and go watch a professional team train. That's
Hmm.
fucking awesome. That's the
Hmm.
problem with the Whitecaps. Whitecaps are out at UBC. No
Hmm.
one's going out there.
Hmm.
Like no one is. It sucks. Like they've built this
Hmm.
really cool, nice facility. No one fucking goes out there though. For
Yeah,
a reason. It's way too far.
just like how TFC trained at Downsview Park, you can really just pull up and just like, damn, yo, I'm watching
It was
TFC train.
it was the same thing when I was with the Sounders, man. I remember
Yeah.
I was in there with Jordan Morris. We're walking out to training, and like there's tournaments going on at
Hmm.
Starfire, and like we got
Hmm.
kids walking up trying to get my autograph. I'm like, you
Oh,
don't
that's
want
a that
mine.
that
I'm
tur-
like,
that
you
turf
don't
field is
want mine.
terrible.
Oh, that turf field in the
That
back is
turf field
horrendous.
Starfire is horrendous.
No,
Wow,
it's
I don't know
terrible.
where to get started.
We were on the grass back there.
Yeah,
That's where we
bro,
got
that
to
turf
train was on
field.
the grass. The grass is fucking sick. But I remember
Yeah,
walking out and these kids running up for an autograph. I'm like, you don't want mine.
on mine.
Jordan Morris. Jordan
Yeah,
Morris, go ask him. And Jordan's just
bro.
killing himself. It was like, fuck, man. It was,
Nah,
but
but
like you're in the community. Like I
mhm,
rocked up for physio all the time. There's other things going on. Like it's just like you're right there. You're a part of the community, and that's why they've been so successful. So from that standpoint, I think they've picked a really good location. Um, player wise so far, it's kind of interesting that again they've taken a League One Ontario kid before they've taken any League One BC kids.
there's not a League One BC kid there.
There's not one that's signed yet. So
Oh wow.
I'm not really I like that's part of it where I look at it and I'm like, okay, like they knew it was coming. How much work did they do this summer? Because obviously
My
Pacific were going through their own thing. Like I
mhm,
get that. Like they were making a push last year, all that stuff.
mhm,
Um, but like how much work did they do on looking at those players? Because League One BC kicked off last year.
mhm,
Um, it's unfortunate that they weren't able to go and play in a tournament because again,
mhm,
I guess League One Ontario just goes that little bit longer.
mhm,
That would be nice to be able to get that going every summer now
mhm,
between League One. You now have League One Quebec, Ontario, and
mhm,
BC, and now
mhm,
getting the rest of the country to kind of buy in. It
mhm,
would be really nice to have like the centralized tournament at the end.
mhm.
Um, but it's just it's one of those things. Again, it's hard for me to understand how the coach isn't Canadian. I get that he seems like a good coach. He's got a pretty good resume,
Mhm.
which is awesome. But you're like, okay, I thought this was about expanding opportunities for Canadians.
Mhm.
I'm gonna reserve a lot of my judgment until later. I
Mhm.
think just
Until the squad's actually built up.
Yeah, until you look at the whole squad, I think that's
Yeah.
one thing. So if you look at that, if you look at, what's their playing style,
Mhm.
and again, like maybe this is one of those things where the reason why they didn't go after Canadian is there's no available Canadian coach who's built a squad, who's had to build this thing from scratch. You would
Mhm.
hope that Rob's learned from his experience at Pacific with building that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But, you gotta kinda sit back and take a look. Obviously Mark
Mhm.
Village is there now. Mark's played in the league and he's coached with Pacific, which is great. Callie's
Mhm.
gone there. So Callie's come back home, which is a great addition for them in goal.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that's kind of my biggest thing is I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna reserve a little bit of judgment, um, and kind of see what the experience is,
Mhm.
because that's going to be the main thing. If they're going to engage with the community where they have a humongous opportunity to, because like I've
Mhm.
brought up before, there's not a whole lot going on with the footballing
Mhm.
community here. Everyone's kind of pissed off and frustrated with things. They do have a pretty good chance to do that, but we just got to see if they take it.
Yeah, I mean, you know more about the soccer community in the West Coast than I do, so I can only take your word for it. My one pushback would have been like the guy because the league is coming in 2023 and there's not a lot of free agents here as well. Like, who do they go after, and how do they build a squad that's competitive? A lot of teams have retrieved the same players, and a lot of the top name players are either staying at their clubs or most of the top players. Let's be real, are older guys over
Yeah.
like 24 or 25, right? And they're probably hitting a part in their career where it's like, you know what? I'm gonna stay with what I know, where I'm comfortable, where I'm playing a lot, and a lot of guys, some of it might be at home. Like Brian Wright just signed for York United. You know what I mean? David Choinière just re-signed for Forrest. So it's like, how do you? And like I said, the West Coast, Vancouver, bro, beautiful place to live, all that stuff. So how do you attract bigger names in the CPO or bigger like young Canadian talents to come play for Vancouver FC? Especially because it's a brand new team. So when it's a brand new team, you have a lot of leverage. Like,
You
is
have
it
leverage,
what?
you have playing opportunity is one
Yeah,
thing.
playing opportunity, leverage money because that you haven't gone through the salary yet, so maybe you can, you know what I mean?
That would be
Certain
one
guy,
thing that you'd probably look at
yeah,
and go, can we offer some higher salaries? But that's also a double-edged sword because if it doesn't go well,
hmm
now you've committed. You can offer more security with multi-year deals potentially.
hmm
Um, so there's all those things, but I think like the biggest thing, and this is probably one of the bigger things that I've noticed, and this is what's been somewhat strange to me, how long this is how long this process has taken and why they haven't signed many guys. Like if the coach needs to kind of understand what the philosophy would be and go after those guys, right? He has to find that maybe it's you have to find local guys who fit your philosophy.
hmm
You know what I mean? Like
hmm
like, are you out in the community actually watching? There are tons of local men's league games going on. Mind you, it's an older league, and most of those guys have careers that they're probably not willing to give up.
yeah.
But you still have to go and ask. Like I know
Salary cap is going up as well too.
salary cap's going up.
Minimum's going up to 30,000.
So, like I'm sure there are players who can make that work,
hmm
you
Especially
know?
ones in the local community.
Exactly. And so that's the only thing. I know that they held one. I know that they've held one. They did like a camp, but I know they've held an
hmm
additional one, like an additional inter squad,
Combine, yeah,
but I haven't heard
anything from it.
anything like anything from it. So
Yeah,
it's
because
it's like one of those things where it's like you're gonna have to take a bit of a leap of faith. You have to. Um, and again, it's like, well, if you have a philosophy, you just like again, you're gonna have to sign guys based on that philosophy. Like, what is the coach's philosophy? Can he build this? Because that's the one thing that I look at. I look at like when you look at Forge have a philosophy. They have a philosophy. You can tell in the way they play. You can tell in the players they sign. And it's really easy for Bobby to go, yeah, let me play, Noah Jensen, come on in. No problem. Slot right in. Is he gonna be like if when Kyle's suspended, is he gonna do what Kyle could do on the pitch? Fuck no. Of course not. But as a
everybody else,
baseline,
everyone's gonna be able to step up while he does as much as possible.
of what's expected from that position, he
Mm-hmm.
can fucking do it because he knows
Mm-hmm.
exactly what to do because there's a philosophy and he suits
Mm-hmm.
Bobby's philosophy. Like Like
The
things like
system's there.
that, like you
System's there.
just don't see. I don't see enough of that in the league where there's like this. There's a genuine philosophy of how you want to play.
Mhm.
Does that have to change at times? Absolutely. You can't.
Mhm.
You know,
Based on game to game, tactics change. The philosophy might still be there, but tactics change.
tactics have to change,
Yeah.
but the philosophy should still be there so that
So
even though the tactics change, like you understand what is expected of you in a specific role. And when you receive the ball, you understand, okay, based on our philosophy, we want to try, we're hitting these different types of platforms. My
mhm,
movement is dictated by these different things. Like, you know what I mean?
mhm,
So that's the only thing I'd like to see. And maybe they're kind of screwed with what the scheduling is like with the league, where they're like, yeah, you guys can't do everything you might want to do.
mhm.
That might be going on. I have no idea. But it seems inherently strange that we're getting close to the end of January.
Preseason starts February 14th. Two
I think
weeks,
they've
bro.
got 5 signings.
Yeah.
Like that seems incredibly low. So
Yeah.
again, I don't know what discussions are going on behind closed doors. I don't know any of that stuff, but
Mhm.
it just seems like things are like it's getting a lot closer. Like it's getting really, really close.
Hopefully they solidify some more signings by the end of the month, because obviously you need to know who you're bringing into preseason. Like FTF hosted with Dylan Carrero, combine with the best 20 players under 25, 60 players. And I think Vancouver FC was there. I mean, a lot of coaches from different CPL teams are there. And hopefully a couple of those guys get opportunity. Like those are a lot of guys that I know personally that were on CPL teams and maybe never had the best run of form or never played in their best position or whatever. And are trying to come back and get back into the league. So, I mean, hopefully that helps. Maybe they take a couple players from there, because at that same time, it's like those players don't have that much leverage, and players. So it's like they can both help each other. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, I want to
yeah,
play. I want to play again. I played at this level. I'm willing to take, let's say, 35,000 just because I want to play. And Vancouver's like, that's perfect because we need a player. So hopefully that works out for a couple players. And there are a couple free agents that are looking for teams as well. So hopefully, like I know a couple guys from Forrest that haven't re-signed yet and are looking for teams, and hopefully they can find teams. So I mean, it's just a matter of time.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Right. And I think I think the reality is like you're coming in now into a pretty established league
Mhm.
that there are going to be some growing pains. So the idea of like for me, this is almost a perfect opportunity to provide a bunch of opportunities to local BC kids to be like,
Mhm.
honestly, man, like let's see. Like we need to
Mhm.
sign X amount of players. We're going to sign them to league minimum deals. Let's see. We'll sign you to a
Mhm.
1 year deal. If we feel like you earned it, we're going to bump your salary the next year. You
Mhm.
know, like I feel like that's almost like a perfect opportunity because
Yeah.
you're walking into a league where the Forge are established. Atletico, unfortunately, you don't have the backing of an Atletico
Like
Madrid, which worth $1 billion.
mhm.
You don't have that backing,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Like
And you don't have the history of Calvary. Like you
But
don't.
they're
Yeah.
established. They're
Yeah.
established. Halifax are getting more established. York
Mhm.
are getting more established, even though York just
Mhm.
have way too much turnover every fucking year for
Mhm.
that to honestly be successful.
Mhm.
Valor are getting more established where they're maintaining players.
Mhm.
Like that's kind of the thing. Like those first couple of years, there was a lot of up and down, and Pacific too. Pacific are
Mhm.
maintaining players. So now all of a sudden, when you have a philosophy and you've maintained players, well, they've been able to grow with the philosophy and improve
Yeah.
within it. So
Mhm.
it's gonna have to be a patient thing anyway. Like if
Mhm.
just
Yeah. Look at
like
Ottawa.
if you
Ottawa was terrible 2 years ago. And now they finished on the top of the table this year. So like, you
top of the
might be.
table and they
I
and they
think they're
finish
just gonna have to
second.
accept that they might be bad.
Well, I think like if I was to predict right now, I'd predict that they're gonna finish last.
Yeah. It's like, yo,
But that
you have
doesn't
to accept that
necessarily
you might.
mean like it doesn't mean that they might be bad to watch. It might be like, look at the opportunities they're giving, but oh, they got punished by these amateur mistakes. You're like, yeah, they had a group of amateurs. Like this is their first year being pros.
You
It's
gotta
gonna
throw. You gotta throw new guys into the pool, because the CPL pool has been the same CPL pool since 2019. Same players just going to different teams. But if you add extra people that have never had the opportunity on certain teams, then like even if they don't re-sign for that team, they'll be able to. You know what I mean? So that's it's
which
just
is what
adding.
I've been bitching about for the last
Yeah,
while about
yeah.
this
You gotta
player
throw.
pool. You have to increase it. You have to
Yeah,
find a
you have to
moment.
throw guys.
to increase it. You have to. And an expansion team seems like the best one. And you should be looking in your local community. You should, but that doesn't mean you don't look in other ones either. Right. Like it's the time to kind of look at it and
Mhm.
genuinely have a go. Cause at the same
Mhm.
time, you might also see someone else for like maybe someone at Forge who's on their last year of their contract doesn't play a
Mhm.
lot next year and is upset, but they go, fuck, you know what? They play a good brand of football and they
Mhm.
need someone in my position. Like
Mhm.
that may be a way that now you attract more players
Mhm.
that way,
And you
right? But
extend
like
and they extend their career.
exactly. So I would hope, I'm hoping desperately that that's what happens.
Mhm.
But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. It'll be interesting over the next couple of weeks too, because I'm expecting a lot more announcements to start coming and
Yeah.
flowing through. And yeah, hopefully get some more promotional material from them as well. Cause so
Yeah.
far it's just been, it's kind of the initial
Yeah.
one and not too much else. So hopefully it comes
Mhm.
and yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Wait, continuing with the Canadian Premier League though. Um Atletico Ottawa, two players, Nate Ingham and Oliver Bassett, getting to train with Atletico San Luis in Mexico. I personally DM'd Ollie Bassett. I say, yo, make sure you don't come back. Because
Yeah.
yeah, bro, it's a great opportunity. I mean, you probably be the first ginger playing in the Mexican league, but bro, that's still great, bro.
I hope
So
he's got
it's like,
SPF a million.
yeah, that's what I mean. So I messaged him. I said, yo, congrats. Message me. It's like, congrats. Like, yo, take that opportunity and run with it. And even if not, at least you come back with an experience of you get a taste of the next level, and you're like, damn, I don't do I want to stay here or do I want to push myself to have another great year to then move on. So congrats to those guys training down there in Mexico, getting a head start. Congrats to Marco Bustos
Off to
getting a move
Sweden.
to off to Sweden, first division Sweden. There's a lot of speculation about him going to Toronto FC. Speculation about him joining Charlotte FC with Paul Maduka, who's an assistant coach now. But I'm happy for him. I mean, played against that guy 3 years straight. Played with him when I was a youth and trained with him in the U20 camp. And from his journey from Vancouver Whitecaps when he was a pudgy kid to him being a fitness freak, and bro, I'm just telling the truth.
No,
Like
I know.
he
No,
was
I know. I was there with him,
yeah
man. I was there.
yeah
It was such a
he was
good.
he always had that technical ability, but I don't think he took his fitness and all that consideration. But now to see how hard he's worked, and from going to from a Valor team that was terrible that first year to taking leadership on Pacific, playing good brand of football. Like I said, I got to play against him, even though he only scored one goal in 3 years against me. He done well. Um, his last year, this past year, I mean, I know he would have wanted to do better, but I mean, it is what it is, and he's got this opportunity. 2 years in Sweden, first division. You never know what can happen, right? There's a lot of people that have made their name in Scandinavia, and you do well there, you can always come back to the MLS and get your money and then move from there. So happy for him. What other moves do we got in this CPL? Jordan Wilson, the homie from York United, called retirement. A lot of people know. Don't know. Now you know. He's one of the analysts, game by game callers with Andy Petrillo and Oliver Platt and those guys. Um,
So he's
played
continuing on
for
with one
yeah,
soccer, right?
I haven't had the conversation with him. I should shoot him a message. I just commented on his Instagram, but yeah, York United captain, leader, fearless. And the video he put up on Instagram was just about him tackling the shit
Kicking
out of
someone.
people. Yeah, he was like, "Yo, it's time for me to hang up the boots." He's like, "I'm sorry for everyone that I kicked in the past years." That was his caption. And I'm watching the video. I'm like, "Yo, this guy tackled like a real Caribbean man, bro. Just straight boom, like no hezzy." So I'm happy for him. He had a great career, great person, great personality, leader, and everything. So getting to know him over the past years, like it's been a great experience. So shout out to him as well. There's been a lot of movement. Obviously, Brian Wright going to from Atletico Ottawa to York United is a big move. Aiden Daniels resigning with Halifax. Patrice getting the Halifax job. I think we mentioned that in our last pod, but even then, um,
Yeah,
Daniel
there's this
Cruz. Yeah, there's so much shit. Daniel
Cruzen
Cruzen
and
on
Karifa
trial.
Yao, they're both with the
Krifa,
Whitecaps.
yeah. Yeah.
So like
Cruzen's on
there's
trial with Whitecaps. Krifa, yeah, I guess he got picked up from the waivers, but like
I think he
there's a
signed,
lot of
yeah.
there's a lot of CPL movement. And, you know what I mean? I'm glad for these guys because like people are getting looks and it might have taken a longer time, but maybe everybody, like I said, everybody has their own path. A lot of people are speculating, even me coming back to the CPL, but it's nothing against the league and it's nothing but a lot of guys, the ambition for a lot of guys that have played in the CPL is to continue pushing on. And it's not like we're gonna forget about the CPL. Like
As it should be.
they created the platform for us to show our game and we're just gonna keep moving from there. But we always gonna give credit to the CPL.
Yeah, it's been fantastic for that. And that's the nice
Mm.
thing to see is it's nice to see all the movement as well. Guys getting opportunities in different places, maybe certain systems are going to suit them better.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like again, like it's still kind of funny though, because how old is Crutzen now?
He is 26.
26.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't ready at 19, 20 to go to that level,
Mm-mm.
but now at 26, like it's still one of those things, even looking at CPL, where you might have some older guys where it's like, yeah, no, you know what? I'm at a point at 27, 20, 26, 27.
Mm.
I think I could play in this league. Like the league still needs to be open to that door,
Mm-hmm.
I think, rather than just looking at the youth, because again, it's just like it's all about environment. When's it going to be right for you, timing, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really think the league's at a point where it can be turning away players that might be good enough to play in it.
And it's gonna make it entertaining as well. So I
Yeah.
think that is an important thing. And if I'm forgetting anyone in general, like my bad.
We'll try and recap it next
We
week.
try to recap it next week. Yeah, man. There's a lot of movement in general, so it's kind of dope. But talking about preseason, MLS preseason has started. Our Canadian men's national team players that are in MLS. There's a lot of Alistair Johnson moving from Montreal to
Killing it.
Celtic.
He's started
Killing
very
it.
well too.
Yeah, started first game debut against Rangers in the Classic. So I mean, happy for him. It's crazy that he came from League. He came from League One, probably 2019 or something like that, to playing for Celtic. I mean, it's unbelievable when you actually put dedication and time into Canadian players and the Canadian players, obviously vice versa. So him, Kamal Miller getting some looks.
Him and
Potentially,
Joel.
like does he?
Joel
Him and
too.
Joel, yeah.
Joel's rumored
I
to be
see.
going
Yeah.
overseas too.
I seen some articles, some speculations. Marcus Godinho leaving Vancouver Whitecaps to go to Poland to join Dominic Zator, who left York United to go to Poland. So like I said, there's been a lot of movement, even from MLS teams, a lot of speculation. Who else do we got? We got from the national team. Obviously, we have TFC starting up, Vancouver starting up, Montreal starting up,
Yeah.
and
Well, the
like
interesting thing with the national team is there's no January camp.
yeah,
The
that is an
US just
interesting
announced
thing.
the camp like right after a World Cup. I get it's right after a World Cup, but you've received this money. Not the time to do it. Like, is it
That
not the time where we
that
start investing in this shit again? Like, what's going on?
I mean, I think that is a great point. And the US, maybe because their player pool is a lot bigger. Because like, if you see who they called, how many guys went to the World Cup in that player pool?
It's a lot of
Kevin
MLS guy.
Acosta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not many. So
I think Canada can do the same as well. We usually did do that, those January camps where we used to call like when Borges went
yeah,
to
I
the
was gonna say
national team.
they had a huge one with a bunch of CPL guys one year where it was like
Zator went, Amir Didic went.
they didn't bring in
Yeah.
like Fonzie didn't come, JD didn't come, those guys didn't come to that one. I think it was right before COVID. It was right after like that first year of CPL.
Yeah, it was January 2020.
Yeah, so like I don't really understand why they didn't do that because that it seems like a perfect opportunity. Now
To see
again,
other people.
you expand that pool. Let's see who else is in the pool, right? So like let's see because again, like it's that like the opportunity to not do that is almost like when you play against Honduras and you're like, how are we playing against a bunch of guys who play in the Honduran league compared to MLS and these? It's because they fucking know all the players and there's a system and they understand who can play in the system. Like this is a perfect opportunity to see what CPL players might actually be like, oh shit, they
Mhm.
suit they suit Herdman style really well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
That can somewhat contribute, and you're building up to the next World Cup. And I
Yeah,
think that
you're 4 years
yeah,
away. It's time I mean, we're 3.5, really.
mhm.
We're behind the
Yeah,
8 ball. It's time to really get going here.
100%. I think that obviously starting with the January camp, it brings an opportunity not only for obviously young guys and stuff like that to showcase themselves, but like it could give people like the guys that are consistently on the national team. It's like, okay, if I go to this January camp, if we don't have this January camp, I'm not going to see the national team until March when we have the friendlies. And the friendlies are what matters towards your points, like the FIFA international break. So we're not going
Mhm.
to have any camps until March and then expect to win. And now Canada is going to be able to get bigger against bigger matchups, bigger nations. So now we're not going to have any camps. And then we're going to play like, let's say, Mexico, or we're going to play a Chile or something like that. Like, how does that work? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
100%, 100%. So
Uh,
yeah, I could understand it, especially given the like, and again, it's those guys who are overseas and the volume of games that they're now getting ready to play and stuff.
mhm,
Like I get not bringing them back, but
mhm.
it was kind of the time to bring in the local guys who are here.
Yeah,
You know,
even MLS guys that you know that are not going to play as much?
or I get that they're
Yeah,
in preseason, like so it's like
yeah.
again like okay, the Whitecaps I think are in Spain right now, so
Hmm.
like I kind of get it, but also you're telling me that that's more important than being like yeah Ryan Raposo come into a January camp for the
Yeah.
Canadian national team,
It could
like
help it could help their confidence, and then from that national team camp, they can go straight back to their team. Especially people that have been in those systems, like
yeah
you calling a Jaden Nelson, Marshall Ruddy, or Ryan Raposo, or those guys, like they're not gonna miss a beat when they get back to their
they've
teams
been
because they've
they've
been
been
there.
within that for so
They've
long,
been within
right?
that system
Yeah,
for so long, where it's like, all right, like y'all can go to national team camp and come back, and like you're just gonna have more confidence because you got called into the national team,
yeah,
and
like
then
it's a
it's
little
just
bit
gonna
different
help
than
you.
calling like Levante, who just got
Yeah,
drafted by the Whitecaps. Like he's never
yeah,
been in the system. Like he probably needs to
yeah,
go to preseason. Like
exactly.
there's definitely a little bit of a difference there.
It's a whole different ball game. Like if you
Yeah,
call guys that are like what is it? The fringe players, then yeah, then I understand. The guys that have been there a while, then you're not gonna call Richie, Jonathan, and Sori and those guys because those guys,
there's no need.
yeah, there's no need. They just went to the World Cup, they're chilling.
Yeah,
But like yeah, like the Jaden Nelsons, those guys, Ryan Raposo, give those guys a look. Like even guys from like I said, CPL to get them ready for their preseason. Like that'd be a big boost. And like you never know how that opportunity might turn the corner for them when they go into their seasons.
yeah,
So
for
that
sure.
yeah, that is another one. But what are your
Jumping
expectations
from
from what
oh
are your
sorry, go
hold on. What are your expectations for the three Canadian teams this year?
in
Montreal has a
MLS.
turnover as well. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? DFC make a jump.
Hmm.
I think they have
Playoffs.
to.
I'm
I
guessing
think
playoffs.
yeah. Oh, they should easily make the
Okay.
playoffs. I
Make
think
playoffs. Okay.
they should easily make the playoffs.
Mhm.
Just because like now you've got Bernadeschi and Insigne for the whole year. Again, though, the thing that just blows my mind is that they got rid of who was it? Who's the left back? Fuck,
Who,
what's
Chris
his name?
Mavinga?
No, no, not Mavinga. The other one. They sent him to
Luca
Orlando.
Petrasso? Luca
They get
Petrasso?
rid of Petrasso and Crescido's gone. Like they have. What was the point of
Bro,
that?
don't get me
Like
started. I'll talk
this
I'll talk to you
shit
about this.
blows my
I could
fucking
talk
mind.
I could talk to you.
Like
I could talk to you
Canadian
about it.
kid.
I could talk to you about this off camera. Don't get me started. Don't get me started with
Like
that situation, bro.
so it's like I
Yeah.
I didn't understand that one. So like that's a
Mm.
little bit of a worry,
You,
obviously.
you have
But
three
they
you have
brought
three you
in
have you have three right backs and zero left backs.
Matt
But we
Hedges will
continue.
help though. So they
Yeah.
brought in Matt Hedges,
Veteran
which is
leadership.
good. Um, hopefully Max healthy. Like
Mhm.
if he can sustain it, him and Bradley together will be obviously solid.
Who's their goalkeeper? Hey man, I'm gonna try to get some inside scoop, and then I got some inside scoop, but I don't know if I could tell you because it's still a little. But obviously, it's speculation that Sean
Yeah.
Johnson from
Yeah, I know.
NYCFC.
I
Yeah,
heard. Yeah. So
yeah.
if like again, if Sean goes, you're like, okay, that kind of shores up some stuff. But
Mhm.
again, it's still like this whole thing. Like I would expect them to make the playoffs, but I just don't know that I it still seems like they're with when Javinko and Altidore were there, it seemed
Ev-
like everyone else around could kind of get to that level when you had Oso was, what he did complemented them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
again with Richie's obviously
Mm-hmm.
going to complement those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like Oso's going to
Mm-hmm.
complement them to a certain extent now, but he's getting older. So like,
But
does
Bradley
Mac
too.
do Mock? Do they have the
Yeah,
legs between the three of them? Like, are they going to
you
have to cover all of their running? Like, it's one of those interesting things where the younger guys that they have aren't really in a position to make that step yet, like Richie was when he did.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those things where I feel like they're kind of like halfway in between in a lot of places. Like, hopefully Jaden takes another step because Jaden got a lot of
Mm-hmm.
minutes last year. Hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully Jax can make a step. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that would be the goal for all these guys, is to make that next step and to make that jump and to really kind of shore up those holes. But you would expect them to make the playoffs. I think Montreal are gonna take a bit of a dip. Obviously, losing those guys, like losing
Mm-hmm.
Alistair's huge. Losing
They
Jordy
re-signed Victor.
Mihailovic,
Jordan
that's a
Mihailovic is
huge
the
loss, man. That
that's a
one,
massive loss.
they lost Kai
Playmaker,
Kamara,
everything. Mm-hmm.
and
They
really,
almost lost Victor Wanyama, but they
they
re-signed him.
re-signed him, which is great. But
Yeah.
then you're like, well, we're uncertain about Kamal and Joel,
Mm-hmm.
which are two bona fide starters for them last year. Kamal was an
Yeah.
all-star. Joel was probably borderline all-star at least.
Also,
He played more than
a
Kamal. They
new
played better than him.
a new coach who's not
Losing
really he's
losing
not.
Wilfred Nancy too. Like, that's big, man. Like, and again, I don't know if when he left, did everyone else go with him? Because remember when we talked to Joel about the role that Laurent Simon played, like, is he still there? So how much of the backroom staff is still there? Like, they've got all those kind of questions. So I would assume that we see a dip from them. Um, I would hope that they still make playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it'll be more interesting to kind of see how the East looks this
Mm-hmm.
coming year, because you would expect Charlotte to be better
Yeah.
second year in the league kind of
Even
thing.
though even though they lost one of their veteran leaders, center back,
Christian
who passed away.
Fuchs.
No,
Oh
no, and
yeah,
who passed
fuck.
away today. Anton
Oh
Walks.
my God. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So
Our
RP
condolences to
condolences
his
to
family.
family, partner, friends, everyone who was close to him, everyone who played with him, played against him. Great person, hard
He's only like
worker,
25,
ambitious.
man.
Yeah, man. Born 97. So
Yeah,
it's
fuck.
kind of
That's so young.
it's crazy. So I found out this morning from one of my boys who's close to him, and I was like, nah, ain't no way. I was like, nah, that's a guy. And then I went on my phone after my session this morning, and I was like, yo, that's crazy. So my condolences to the whole Charlotte organization and his family, friends back home and everything. Damn. But we'll see. Maybe that's a little bit of a motivation that you can carry within the team. Charlotte should be better this year. I played against them with my St. Louis City team, and they're a team that ball playing team. They kind of peaked little at the end of the year when Christian Latanzio took over, and he's a really good coach. He was my assistant coach at NYCFC, and he has really good ideas and really good tactics. Real Italian, so he pays real attention to tactics and all that stuff. So they should be a lot better. But yeah, the East is always a grind, always a
Yeah.
grind.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's that's the thing with Montreal and Toronto. You would hope that both of them get in the playoffs. If I had to pick, I don't think I see either of them higher necessarily than like the 4 seed though.
mm-hmm.
4 or 5 seed, I think, is where I
That's
see kind of them falling between maybe 4 to 7.
mm-hmm.
Vancouver, I could not fucking tell you, man. Like, I
Bro, that's
doubt, I
your
don't
side.
think,
That's your neck
I
of the
don't
woods,
think
bro.
that I don't think they make the playoffs. Like, I haven't seen any genuine improvements. Like, and again, like the bigger issue that I have is, like, obviously Ryan had a way bigger role last year, which is awesome. It's fantastic. They don't really have a striker. Cavallini he's gone. So for me, it's one of those things, like, if they're not going to make the playoff, there's no relegation. Why? Like, if Levante doesn't get a shot this year, I'm going to fucking lose my mind. Because why the
Is
fuck not?
Levante a generation Adidas, or is he just like a regular draft pick?
Regular draft pick.
Then they would have to sign him. The reason why they probably won't. Obviously, I was there, so I have a little insight. They signed a lot. They signed 2 forwards. Brian White, my bad. Brian White That's so tough. But anyways, Brian White just re-signed a big contract with Vancouver Whitecaps because of what he did in 2021,
Yeah.
and deservedly so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Brian's a bona fide
yeah,
MLS
this
player,
goal
man.
scorer. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they have him, and then they just re-signed. They signed a guy from the second team, Simon Betcher, who was played at St. Louis University, and he was on
Yeah.
the second team as well. And a lot of it is a business thing. Agents have a lot to say, like, you know what I mean. A lot of relationships with people, you know. So it's just tough because Vancouver, I think now they're switching their system. I don't think they're playing a three back anymore. I think they're reverting to a 4-3-3, moving Gressel to the midfield where he played in college, probably where he's more comfortable. Um, and maybe because they don't have the three back to play the way that that they want to play. So they signed Ali Ahmed, who's from my neck of the woods, one of my brother's
Yeah.
friends, who's a really, really good player. And like I think they're trying to, as you know, Vancouver don't really spend money on players. So
No,
I
and
think yeah,
they don't even sell the city well, man. Like it's one of the
yeah.
nicest places in the world to live, and they don't even
Mm,
sell it well. Like it's crazy. But that's the thing. Like I know Ali signed. Like they've got
yeah.
Simon's. Like to
Ryan,
me,
like
if
Ryan,
these
those guys
kids
should.
get a
So
chance,
if they're
just
gonna
give.
play with one striker, that's why it looks tough. If one striker, Johnson might have a tough time getting into the team, and he
Yeah,
might play most of his minutes in the second team, which is still fine. Like if he goes there and crushes it, like I don't know how many goals Simon scored, but I think it was like 7, 8. Like if he goes there and crushes it with his pace and his like he was at Mac Herman like finalist, like
yeah.
you know what I mean. So
He might find more, and
yeah,
maybe he's not going to be a striker. Maybe they're going to play him out wide. So he's got to kind of
why?
learn that
But
position and
it,
stuff like that, right?
that
So
that's tough too because that's where the big money guys are. Like Ryan took a step this year, but if you change to a 4-3-3, you still have Dahomey who's under contract. You still
yeah,
have Diber Caicedo who's under contract. You still have a lot of guys that are making a lot of money that it's like, damn, I have to justify paying these guys by playing them.
yeah.
Like, and that's just
Oh,
how the
no doubt.
business goes. Yeah.
No doubt.
So
No doubt. I just
hopefully,
like it. If you're
yeah,
not going to be successful though, like these kids, like you need to actually see what the fuck you have.
yeah.
And that's the problem. They've never done that. They've never actually genuinely given very
Mm-hmm.
many of these kids a genuine chance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
So
like they didn't do that for Sam. They didn't do that for Bustos. Like the list goes fucking on and on and
mm-hmm.
on with this organization, man. Like it's ridiculous. So
Mm-hmm.
um the hope would
Yeah,
be that. And if it is, say it is Whitecaps too,
yeah.
you know, well
I
they
my thing is Whitecaps.
Lowell
Yeah,
is there too.
low.
Like
Oh
you've
yeah.
got him up front. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, maybe it is there and they're kind of duking it out, and let's see who can stick.
My thing is that Whitecaps, I think they know where they probably know where they stand, and like I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing because like you want to go into every season thinking like, yo, I want to go fight for the championship, but I think they are a more realistic organization where it's like, hey, maybe we might not have the talented players. I seen a quote from Vanny saying they want to fight for the playoffs, like they want to make it to the playoffs, and that's real. That's calm. That's realistic because like the LA's, there's 2 spots gone. You got Minnesota, that's another spot gone. You got Dallas, you got Portland, you got Seattle,
Seattle
you
missed
got
last
yeah,
year, so you
yeah,
think they're gonna bounce back. Like
yeah. You got Seattle, that's 7 already.
Austin was good last year
Austin,
too,
that's
weren't they?
8.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Austin finishing
you're now at 8.
third. Yeah, they're 8. So it's like, damn, who else is left? And like, there's a lot of fringe teams that were like, the real Salt Lakes can hit you randomly.
Yeah.
Kansas City were down, but like they're probably gonna be back again. Like Peter Vermes don't play that. You know what I mean? Like they're just gonna hit you with the veteran move and just like, you know, we're just gonna graft every game and make it to the playoffs. So it's like they're like, damn, like we have a lot when it comes to like football wise, like okay, we're gonna have a tough time. Because obviously I played in the West Coast with St. Louis and the travel does take a toll.
It's a lot of travel. It's a
There's a
lot less
lot of
condensed than it is on the East. Like I totally agree. And I think actually I like that idea of going, no,
St. Louis City
we want
now
to make a
too is in
step.
the
We
West.
want to make a step. We're not looking at we want to win the championship this year. We want to get there. The idea is to get there, but we have to incrementally make steps. And so I think you're right. Like that's that type of a philosophy and mindset is totally fine. But I think it's also how
I
you
think
get
you
there.
still play the youth.
You
Like
still
you
have
shouldn't.
to You have to give them a chance.
If you're gonna lose, why not lose with the young guys? Like that's why I've said this since I was 12. I was like, yo, if we're gonna be like, you know what, we're not gonna fight for a championship, why not develop people on the way? That's it.
Exactly.
Like I can understand TFC, those big budget teams like Atlanta, New York, TFC. I can understand them not giving young guys a chance because they're supposed to win all the time. Like they're supposed to be title favorites all the time. But like the other teams that have low budget costs, like the Colorados or the, you know what I mean? Like, bro, if you're gonna lose, don't lose with everybody making $1 million on the field and just stinking up the field.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather you have guys that are making minimum wage and playing in every game, because then you never know, you might find like 2-3 gems. At least something comes out of the season.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And looking, obviously, there's a little preseason thing. Let's hop back into mid-season stuff within going back over to Europe. My God, the number of games coming up that have already occurred and are now coming up is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Where do you want to start?
I mean, well, we could start off just today with City being down 2-0 at half to Tottenham, looking like, oh my God, the Prem's over, and winning 4-2, scoring 3 goals in 12 minutes.
They were getting booed off the field at halftime. You know how wild that is, right? Like City fans are barely ever upset because they're always winning. But like they were like, nah, these guys are playing.
Also that half of that stadium is only there because they've only been City fans for the last 8 years.
Fair enough. You're not 10 years. We'll say 10. We'll give them the Mancini years. We'll give them that too. But like, yeah, fair enough. But they're probably not used to losing. So like when you start to see your team play terrible, you're like, damn, like what's going on? So they blew them off the field. They came on the field, 2 goals in 2 minutes, and then 3 goals in 12 minutes, and all because of Mr. Riyad Mahrez. And
He's filthy.
When you look at that, you're just like, what anybody tells me about youth development, like youth development should be based on technical ability and understanding of the game. Because Mahrez probably weighs about 2 stones, as they would say in the UK. That's a measurement that the UK people in the UK still use that no one else in the world uses for some reason. And when the ball comes to him out of the air, like a glove, like his first touch and everything, like you think you can just you feel like you can just poke him and he'll fall off the ball, but like his ball retention, everything like that. And to think that he started like in the 4th division in France is wild.
He signed a Premier League deal out of the 2nd division in France with Leicester and won a Premier League title the next year.
And did he win? No, Vardy won Player of the Year, or did Mahrez win it?
I think Mahrez did.
He had like 22 goals and like 12 assists. I was like, nah, who is this guy? That's what I'm saying. Like you can't, like Conte, Vardy, like their stories, for anyone that's watching this, never give up, because there might just be one coach that might be like, damn, I'm gonna turn this guy into it's a fucking Don. And look what's happened. Mahrez goes to City for what, 50, 60 million? And look what he's done. He's already won 2 Premier Leagues now?
Yeah.
2 Premier Leagues, Champions League, went to a Champions League final, and basically carried them to that Champions League final when they lost to Chelsea because he cooked PSG. So like you're looking at this, you're like, yo, this guy, and look what he did today. So you know he's someone you can count on if you're a Man City fan. Arsenal got to be weary. Tottenham, I don't know what's going on over there. There's times where they were looking dangerous though.
They're done.
Yeah,
they're done.
I don't know what's going on over there.
Arsenal's one of those.
I don't know what's going on with Liverpool. Them dudes is.
It's the Klopp effect, man. It's the Klopp effect. He sticks with the same guys for too long, and they're old, and they can't run that much anymore. And funny enough, I read something the other day where it was like the former sporting director, Michael Edwards, didn't want to give Van Dijk that next contract. He's like, he's gonna fall off a cliff soon. He's getting old. He's not worth it. And they went, nope. So they signed him. He's been terrible this year for his standard.
For his standards. Because there was one point everybody's like, Van Dijk might be the best center back ever. I'm like, bro, did you guys forget about Maldini, Nesta, Ram? Like, even though Ramos has the most red cards for any defender ever, he still probably has the most goals for every defender ever.
He's not even the best defender to play in the Premier League. Look at Rio Ferdinand and John Terry, Tony Adams, Vidic. Like,
yeah.
Like it's a little bit
Yeah,
of
he
recency
had
bias.
three.
I get he
Yeah.
was up for the Ballon d'Or and he was up for UEFA's best player during that year,
Mhm.
and I get that. But give me a fucking break.
Yeah, like Cannavaro on a Ballon d'Or. So like I don't know, you got it, but your team, Manchester United. I'm gonna leave the floor to you. Even though this last game, that free kick, god damn,
That
god,
pissed me off.
that's a buzzer beater.
That
If that
pissed
was
me off.
equivalent to
Actually, they almost
NBA,
won it after that. Do you not? Casemiro almost won it after that. The ball came in and it
crazy.
ducked, and he just missed his knee. Like he was on the goal line. He should direct it forward, and he scores. Like they almost won it at the death. So no, man, it's nice to see a team with a philosophy again. That's all I can really say. Because like, and again, it's a team that you look at it and you're like, you can tell they're all playing for each other. Luke Shaw now looks like, well, United don't need to go sign another center back because Luke Shaw can play center back now.
He's about 5'8".
Luke Shaw, no, that's Martinez. Martinez
Martinez
is
are about the same size,
he's
yo.
so, but you have him, Martinez, Shaw, Varane. Those three, it's awesome. Like what Eric Ten Hag has done to Aaron Wan-Bissaka is outrageous. I did not see
Crazy.
that coming. Didn't see it coming.
His technical ability. I used to get so mad because I used to watch TFC games and then I watch and Man U Wan-Bissaka. I'm like, Rich, you are better than this guy. I'm like, you put you in an Air 10, like you know what I mean? Put him at the same level, a couple of training sessions, and you know what I mean? And you could play because like I'm like, this guy can't even pass a ball sometimes. And he didn't feature for the Man U team for a long time. I think Eric Ten Hag was like, yo, you have everything physically, 1v1 defending, all that stuff. Just work on the tactical and technical part and you will play. And now look at him. He
Yeah,
won't go.
it's
I feel like he went ghost for a little bit to do all that stuff, and now he's back. He's like, all right, yo. Now the confidence is back. Like he used to lose the ball unnecessarily all the time. I was like, damn, bro. I understand it's a high level, but like
it
you're
was
a
a
man. He's
black hole every time the
yeah.
ball, and you're like, oh my god,
Oh
just
my god.
smash up the
Hopefully, don't lose
pitch.
the ball.
Just
You're like, or
something.
pass it back to the center back. Like do
Yeah.
something.
So
Yeah.
that actually gives me a ton of encouragement looking at Jaden Sancho, because Sancho's going through some mental stuff. Tanag's like, go away. We're gonna sort you out. And so when he comes back, the only thing with them is they don't have the squad depth to be able to do this for the whole year. Like they're not in a title race. I'm not buying that. Like if they were to beat Palace and then beat Arsenal from a points perspective, you were like, oh yeah, they're in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just they don't have this. They don't have enough players. They don't.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost too many. They haven't been able to sign the players that they want. And that's kind of the thing. And that's what I actually don't mind about it, is that there weren't players out there that they were willing to sign. So they didn't buy someone just to buy them, which they've done for the last since Ferguson left. So it's incredibly encouraging and it's really fun. It's like really, really fun. And I hope that they fucking beat Arsenal. The only thing that pissed me off is that I don't understand why they even no, but why did they have to play against Palace? That wasn't a makeup game. Like I don't like they're now sitting on 19, Arsenal on 18 games. Why did they play an extra game this week? Like I would assume, like just looking at it, I would assume it's because they've advanced in the Carabao Cup and now that semifinal weekend, maybe whenever that's scheduled is when the rest of the Premier League teams are playing. But should that not be something that's added on at the end of the year rather than like the middle like this? When you look at like you've got Arsenal playing United at the weekend, they're both level on games, but no, we're going to throw this other game at you in between where now you have a player who's now suspended.
I think such a monumental game like that, rivalry game like that, I don't think you can just move it. That's what I think.
No, I'm saying the Palace game. The Palace game.
Palace game.
That's the one where I'm like, I don't understand why that one was played. Because the Arsenal one was set. The Palace one's the one that got moved.
Did Palace play? Does Palace have a game this weekend? Maybe that could, you know what I mean? There's probably a lot of things that go into it. I don't know, maybe the business side. I have no idea, but it does make sense what you're saying, 100%.
That's the only thing that I don't understand. But like, again, like he's suspended. Okay, well, they beat him without him. They beat Arsenal without Casemiro already. It's a lot more difficult now, I'll be honest, because he's been outrageous. He's been so good, man. Yeah. He's been so good. So no, it's exciting, man. I think that they should make the Champions League. You would assume. I think they'll come third. But it's for that same, like the same reason why I don't think they're in a title race, because the numbers is why I don't know if Arsenal have the legs to finish it off
Mm-hmm.
with the number of games coming up, because they've got Europa League just like United do. United got
Mm-hmm.
to play Barcelona coming up soon too, which is going to
Yeah.
be awesome tie to watch. That's going to be awesome. I actually, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
The thing that I love about it is that it's like, great, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
actually
it.
excited to watch it rather than going, oh my God, they got
Yeah.
Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, no, let's go.
It's more even now than it was back in the day after the Wayne Rooney time. I feel like after the 2012 or 2011 Champions League
Yeah.
final, that's when it was like, all right, yo, man, you can't stand with Barca. But like no team at that point was really standing with Barca. But then like now it's like, hey, every team, there's not a lot of parity. Like there's no team saying like, damn, I don't want to play this team. Like every team is,
Yeah.
I feel like if you say the top 25 clubs in the world, like I feel like any of them can beat any of them at any time.
It does feel like that a little bit more
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I would
The
say
teams are more
like, I
balanced.
feel like that's this year though, because I
Yeah.
would even go back to last year, the year before that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone wanted to get Liverpool in the Champions League. No
Or
one
City
wanted that
too.
draw. No one wanted City. No one wanted
Yeah,
Liverpool.
yeah,
Um, Real Madrid, obviously,
yeah,
no one really wants to get them that deep in the
yeah.
Champions League anymore. Because
Mm-hmm.
earlier on, you're like, yeah, we might be able to nick this. The longer they go, though, just the experience of all those
Yes.
players to get through
Mm-hmm.
it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as for United, man, it's exciting. It's really
Yeah.
exciting. It looks like they're, and again, like that's why the biggest thing I was on with Ten Hag. I was like, the guy's won at every level he's gone. I trust
And
him.
it
He's
might,
got a philosophy.
if you look at all the teams that are in first place in the top five leagues, you have Arsenal. Mikel Arteta came from Pep Guardiola. You have Barcelona. Xavi Hernandez came from Pep Guardiola.
Yep.
Now Eric Ten Hag, who was assistant coach with Pep at Bayern Munich.
Bayern Munich.
Yeah, bro. I like. It's like, damn. The Pep effect is a Vincent Company who's cooking the championship with Burnley, having them knock it. I'm like, Burnley's playing footy like that now.
I
Like he
know.
has some move.
1 year later.
Yeah. Burnley was like this. He's like, yo, honestly, yo, we're not doing this no more, bro.
Yeah.
The Pep effect is real, and Pep is like, I think Pep is out here just. He's like, you know what? I need to create competition for myself, so I'm gonna make all these guys nice coaches, and then they're gonna go coach these big teams, and then let's see if they beat me at my own game, and that's what it's really looking like. I'm like, damn, it's unbelievable to watch, and talk about other games like Barcelona versus Real Madrid Super Copa. They had it in Saudi. Was it Saudi Arabia? Was it Saudi Arabia or was it in Dubai? One
I
of
think it
those.
was, yeah, one of those.
Yeah. They had the Super Copa semifinals and finals. Barcelona played Real Betis in the semifinals. One semifinal and the other one was Real Madrid versus Valencia. Real Madrid won cleanly. Barcelona struggled always with Real Betis for some reason. Extra time, penalties. Then they play Real Madrid in the final. Were you thinking, Real Madrid might just cook these guys? And Barcelona absolutely snapped.
No, honestly, it's one of those ones. I don't know why, but Xavi seems to have them dialed right now. Like Pedri and Gavi in that game were just unplayable.
Lewandowski, bro, it was just like, yo, these guys are just dancing right now.
Yeah,
How's it?
Xavi seemed to kind of get a little bit of the factor that his teams had back in. I don't know if it's sustainable for the whole year, just given like again squad depth and what's going on behind the scenes where they have to sell on so many players and they can only like all that stuff is absolute nonsense. But for him to be able to drown out that noise and to produce where they're first in La Liga right now too, are they not?
Yeah.
Like
by like 4 points.
Yeah. Like it's quite an incredible job that he's done.
Yeah. And I hope that the youth on the team can stay healthy. Because he's been benching Busquets, Jordi Alba, all those. He's gone with Balde at left back. Finally playing Frankie De Jong in the sixth position where he just dominates. For some reason, that guy's like the best dribbling six ever. Like
so
you can't
good.
get the ball off the man. Yeah,
so
you can't
good.
get the ball off the man. And then you have Pedri and Gavi playing in the midfield with him. It's like, yo, everything is so fluid. You have Dembele cooking, Rafinha cooking. Then you obviously Lewandowski is always Lewandowski. So
I think again, what he did though is he brought players in that suit Barcelona's system. It's crazy. It's really weird when you have the system and you have a philosophy, and if you bring the right players in, they seem to work. It's really
It's literally with everyone. I think Pep is kind of moving away from the system a little bit more because he's like, yeah, okay, I've won this way. Now you have Erling Haaland, who's your focal point, and you have players who are athletic enough with the technical ability to play different ways. Like De Bruyne can play tiki taka, or if they got to play direct, De Bruyne's going. You know what I mean? He can run from 18 to 18 with the ball. For some reason, no one can stop it. And he just plays it to Holland and they score. So I think they're becoming more dynamic, Man City, rather than like ball possession oriented, which is good for them because at some point it becomes predictable.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think the scary part is that it doesn't seem like they've figured it out quite yet.
No, not at all. I was watching
But
today. I
when
was
they
like,
do, fuck.
I think this team is built for Champions League.
And maybe that's what he decided to kind of look at, right? Like, because every other year it's just like, and that was Liverpool. Liverpool were built for like, and that's most of Klopp's teams, to be fair. They're a cup team that you do not want to play. You never want to get them. But this team looks like they are designed just to run the Champions League. And again, that's the one thing that they're missing. And I think if you ask most City fans, they'd probably say, we've had a lot of domestic success over the last decade. We want a European title. And that's probably what I think fans would prioritize, even though I think winning the league in England is so difficult. I don't think you can ever take that for granted. Especially coming from a Man United fan who grew up with every year being up for it and the last decade not. I mean, ask Liverpool fans, look how long it took them to get one again after the 80s, right? So and with all the money and with all of the money coming in now, like it's getting more, even though it's like the teams that are vying for it are still the same, it's getting that much more difficult to win it.
100%. Because every team's getting a lot better and everybody wants to play in the Premier League. Other than like Bayern Munich, PSG, like those guys at Real Madrid and stuff like that, if you're at a big club in those other domestic leagues, then I can understand you staying there and not wanting to move to the Premier League. But if you're like in the, let's say the Dutch league, the Belgian league, or like the obviously that championship, like those little other leagues that it's like, okay, I can go to La Liga or I can go to the Premier League. People are going to go to Premier League, even if it might not suit their playing style. The revenue that they're going to be able to get, like how much money they're going to be able to get paid, how much exposure they're going to get, how many games you can get in general. So it's always a benefit. So
definitely. I think the only thing that I would look at is just look at like lifestyle stuff, because that's the one thing that, again, that's the downside of the Premier League, is that if you don't hit, you're gone. Whereas it's like, well, there was a language barrier, there was marital issues because they moved. Like there's a lot, like there's like the human factor that never seems to be
in general everywhere,
in the equation.
Everywhere.
So maybe it would be better going, no, you know what? My family wants to go to Spain. Like I'm going to Spain because it's going to be a better choice for my family. It's a choice for my family. You know what I mean? So I can understand all the players that decide to do that from those types of leagues. But from like the personal, professional aspect of it, there is that draw to go, no, I want to go. Like again, we look at all the guys who are playing in these sides that are getting relegated. You're like, these guys are fucking unbelievable footballers.
And if they do get relegated, a lot of them just go back to
they're gonna get signed.
Serie, or some of them get signed to Premier League teams. Like, a team might be getting relegated, but okay, now we'll bring you back up. So that's a dope thing too. I was gonna ask, like, yes, everybody knows that we had Richie Lai the last episode, and Nottingham seems to be kicking around the corner. The last couple games, they've been doing well. His loan is up in June. What do you think Nottingham should do? Do you think they should bring him back, give an opportunity, or do you think he should re-sign another loan, play with TFC? Because if they are going to get relegated, and they're going to change, because obviously people are going to leave because your budget goes down. Do you bring someone like Richie back in, who played at the World Cup, who you've seen?
I think you bring him back in. I think you bring him back in regardless. I think even if you stay up, I think you bring him back in. And I would hope for, and again, though, this is a way bigger conversation for Richie to have with his family. We just talked about that. But for me, I want to see him go back. I want to see him try, just because the timing now is really good because
Really good.
maybe even this year it's like the whole thing that how we talked about, like he's got to learn the system, he's got to learn these
Mm-hmm.
things, and kind of like what like we talked about with Aaron Wan-Bissaka at United,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe there is that kind of a factor where he does need a year to adapt to it,
Mm-hmm.
to truly be like, oh no, now it is so fluid, and it's just like,
Yeah,
and now
I agree.
you build the rapport with all of the players around you as well, because that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing that we kind of take for
Mm-hmm.
granted, right? Like like if you're not playing in matches, it gets that
Mm-hmm.
much more difficult to build fluidity within
Mm-hmm.
when you play.
Yeah, and I think he went at a good time, but a wrong time because like that's when Nottingham was starting to just kick ass. Like and it gets to a point if the team's winning, the coach is not going to change a lot of players. He was
And I
making the
mean,
bench and everything, and that's tough. And then
look
you,
who he had playing ahead of him, man.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
you had
yeah,
Jed Spence
Jet
right
Spence,
ahead
yeah,
of you, who signed out of the championship, signs a $50 million transfer. Like fuck.
yeah. So like
And
you had that, and then those guys were cooking. Then you get promoted to the Premier League, so you're like, okay, that's good that he went to go get games somewhere else, then played in the World Cup. But if they are going to get relegated, or if they do even plan to stay up, I think it's good for him to get that preseason and see what he can do again. And
yeah,
hopefully, like you know what I
because
mean.
I don't think there's a problem.
Serge Aurier is getting old. Like that guy's
Well,
been on everything. Yeah.
big time. Like I don't think there's a problem staying there for another 2 years after this, and then you can make your decision. Right now, coming back into another World Cup year, like then it kind of gets a little bit serious. But again, like I don't. It for a lot of guys, like it's not like it's easy to say, oh, like he didn't hit the ground running like Alistair. It's fucking completely different, man. Like Celtic
And they got
lost,
to move everyone.
like yeah, but it's also just about timing. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like there's a timing aspect to it. Where again, yeah, they both moved in January, but there wasn't a World Cup break like Celtic had, so they're kind of
Mm-hmm.
ramping back up now. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
Nottingham Forest were going that whole time
Yeah.
when
And
Richie went.
Celtic had a break, and then Alistair's coming from a World Cup, so he's already fit. So it's easy to
Exactly,
throw him into the game. Whereas when Richie went in January, TFC didn't make the playoffs that year.
exactly.
So you're coming, he's got to get fitness, and these guys are mid-season fitness. So
Exactly.
I
So
understand. There's a lot of aspects.
yeah, I really, really, really genuinely do hope that he sticks it out for a couple years though, because I think he
Mm-hmm.
has a legitimate shot, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
championship or
I think,
Premier League, to
and,
get
and
some
it's not me
serious
being,
match.
this not be, yeah, this not me being friend biased, and it is a little bit me
No,
being friend biased,
you
but like
saw it at the World
100%.
Cup though. You saw it
Yeah,
at the World Cup.
100%. Like he's
So
pocketing Carrasco, and Carrasco out here dicing guys up when he's at Atletico Madrid. So
yeah.
like,
So and again, like I'm not in, not neither of us have seen training, right? Like that's the
yeah.
other side with a lot of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
is like it's awesome, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
philosophy side to it that obviously there's, I think that's another side, like it's almost like the classroom setting side. People don't quite understand how serious that side is,
Mm-hmm.
where you have to understand exactly, and
What's
especially
going on?
looking at Brighton now with
Mm-hmm.
oh, what's the manager's name? Dezebi. And if you see,
Brighton's disgusting.
but if you look at their philosophy, man, goal when Sanchez has it, their two center backs are on the end line
And like create as much space
to
as
create
possible.
space for your mid, like, but
Yeah.
it's like you need to fully understand how to do that, and if you don't, he's not going to play you. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you have to do that and then be confident enough to do it. Like there's that classroom setting side that definitely
Mm-hmm.
goes into it, especially in the Premier League now, because it is it's hundreds of millions of pounds
Mm-hmm.
to get promoted
Mm-hmm.
and relegated. That's the
Mm-hmm.
difference. Like
Mm-hmm.
it seems a bit unsustainable to a
and it's
certain
and it's not
extent.
and it's not even just the club. It's like you lose a lot of money yourself too.
Personally, yeah.
Like you can go from making 150,000 pounds a week to making 70. Like you can get cut in half. There's a
Even
difference.
75,000 pounds a week is still a
Yeah, but like, bro,
disgusting amount of
yeah,
money.
100%. But like,
But
it's still crazy difference.
yeah, big
Like
time.
imagine you getting from $60,000 a year to 30,000. You'd be like, yo, you're like,
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
on.
So
Yeah.
I hope he goes for a couple of years, because I think he has a legitimate shot to sit there and play against some of the best players in the world. But again, it has to be right for his family and the right timing, right? So we'll kind of wait and see.
That I feel like that rounds up. And is there any other games? Oh, Jonathan David. Hold on.
On
Becomes the
fire,
highest scoring foreign player in Lille history. With 40 goals now? 41?
something like that. Yeah.
48. And that's for someone who's 23 years old. Look what he's doing. Like, Could have used it in the World Cup, but I'll
Where
give
do
him
you
the
think he
benefit.
goes?
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Honestly, at this point, I really don't know. I gotta wait a little bit to see what happens with other teams. Um, do I think he goes to the Prem? Probably not.
Well,
Um,
like, because it's interesting because I've heard like Arsenal and United have both been
mhm.
interested, poking tires, and
Man United just
I
got
just
that Dutch guy,
yeah, but
tall
that's a
that
loan.
striker.
That's a loan.
Okay,
It's only till the end.
and
It's a
then
6 month loan.
and Rashford is cooking right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
But
and
the
Jonathan
biggest
David's not a solid. He's not a nine that's up top by himself.
so like the reason why for me right now, like if he gets there one day, holy shit, that would be fucking incredible. That would be so cool for me to see, like again, to see
Yeah,
a Canadian number 9 striker be at one of the biggest clubs in the world, being their
yeah.
out and out number 9. For me, it's like when I look at it from a Man United fan's perspective, going, City bought Holland.
And we're going Jonathan David.
We need a 9. No, it's we need a 9 who is going to score
Mm,
as many goals as he does.
mm,
Is Jonathan David the answer to that right now? Now, I'm not talking about in 3 years. I'm talking about right
mm.
now. There aren't many of those guys in the world. And so that's the thing. Is it like, okay, is he going to be someone who suits Marcus Rashford really well? If so, you can do it by
Yo,
committee.
maybe Jonathan David can go to like Tottenham
That might be one, but
because
or he,
Harry Kane the out and out nine.
yeah, put Kane on
Underneath
United.
him.
I would take
Harry
him in a
Kane's underneath.
heartbeat.
Of course you would. Who wouldn't take Harry Kane in a heartbeat?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only a couple of teams that wouldn't take it, and they have Lewandowski, Benzema, Erling Haaland, Mbappe.
Do you think
Yeah,
Arsenal would sit there and take him? Do you think their fans could sit there and stomach that?
100%. They would be like, "Damn, he's from Tottenham," but then at the same time, they're English fans. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, yeah, you're an Arsenal fan, but like, you're an England fan,
Do
and
you
you
think
know
Harry
what
Kane would
Harry
go?
Kane. No, he was so close going to Man City, and people wanted to crucify him. So it was like, and to be fair, him at Man City would have done damage too.
Oh yeah.
Because no one like we expected Holland to score goals, but not at this rate. But
No.
like that's what I'm saying. But now it's like, okay, nah, Man City made the right decision because 100 million for Harry Kane, who's old, or 50 million for Erling Haaland, who scores a goal a game in his career. Okay, he's just like, all right, yeah. So I think that. But Jonathan David, yeah, congrats to him. Alfonso still doing Alfonso things in Bayern Munich. They're
I wonder if
Champions
that
League
would be a
drop.
good suit for him.
Bayern Munich,
Going going to Bayern.
Musiala.
Musiala is
Played
not
at
a
the same
9
position.
though.
He played, but like
He
I don't
played.
know. I don't know. Jonathan David can play out and out nine.
See, that's the
That's what
thing though. I
that's the
don't think
thing.
but he's not a, like
He reminds
like
me
when
of
you look at Musiala like as a 10, you're taking Musiala every day.
100%.
Like Jonathan David's not a 10. He's not really
Yeah,
a
but
winger, so
then
he's kind of
but then
caught in a lot of these.
Bayern Munich's looking at it the same way you look at it, like Man City has Erling Haaland,
They're not
PSG has
competing with those
Mbappe,
guys though. Yeah, but that's the thing. They're not even
PSG has
looking.
it, but they want Champions League as well.
Yeah, and
PSG
that's
has.
something where I think like Jonathan David, I think can help you win the Champions League. You know what I mean?
You think
Like
so?
again,
If you put Jonathan David on Bayern Munich right now, you think they can win the Champions League?
well, you're choosing. Yeah, I think so. You've got Mane, him, and Serge Gnabry up top.
Sane or
Sane's up
Sane?
there. Musiala in behind. Like, you know what
PSG
I
is playing
mean?
Bayern Munich in the Champions League around the 16 though, so we gonna see we gonna
Yeah,
see how that goes. That's gonna be dangerous, but damn, yeah. I mean, I hope he gets the big move. Like John David definitely deserves it. Um, who else? Jonathan Osorio resigning for TFC. I kind of expected that because
yeah.
there's
I
a
think
little bit,
at his
yeah.
age, you're kind of like,
He had leverage though to get more money, so I'm glad he used it to his advantage. Um, but yeah, a lot of things shaking up, and we'll see what happens next week. And I'm wishing Man United the best of luck this weekend against Arsenal, man.
they better fucking win, man. I'll never hear the end of it from Marcus if they don't. Marcus is actually being silent this week, which is incredible.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
And Julian too. You don't hear the end of it from
They both
Julian.
won't say a word.
Yep.
They both won't
Usually
say a
are
word about it. They're like, I won't like Marcus literally goes, I'm not
100%.
saying a thing until after after the game.
Yep. And he's gonna hold it. And then when he sees you, is he going? You're gonna see him in Montreal.
Yeah, I'll see him in Montreal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you cool bragging rights. Yeah.
By that time, it better be a lot closer. I'll tell you that.
That's hilarious. So I don't remember what our top four shows were in the beginning of the year.
Oh, I had City, Arsenal, United, Liverpool.
Ooh, yeah. I think
Liverpool's not looking good.
I know I didn't have Chelsea. I know I didn't have. I said City, Arsenal. Bro, Newcastle's still there too, yo. That's actually unreal. We forgot about them fellas, yo. Them fellas is just sticking out game by. I think they're literally going to the game. They're like, yo, let's take it game by game.
They don't concede, man. They don't concede goals. They've conceded 11 goals total this year.
That is unreal. That is unreal. Wow. But yeah, I think now I'm gonna say the same. I don't remember. I know I had those first three, but I don't remember if I don't think I said Chelsea. But Chelsea was not good in the beginning of the year.
No.
I said Chelsea was like clever fit.
Newcastle might honestly do it, man. Could you imagine?
Yeah, I told you that. You're like, nah, no way. You're like, no way they hold it.
I didn't think they would, but like how you have Fulham, who just got promoted in the top 6, Brighton, it's absurd. Brentford are pushing on. Like,
last thing I forgot to mention, since we were talking about Jonathan David, Kyle Larin, speculation coming back to MLS. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, because he's not playing.
Yeah, 0 minutes. As everybody knows, that's one of the homies. And if he could come back and get like a high TAM or maybe even a DP contract, maybe that's someone Vancouver's missing.
Number 9, man. Like that could be someone,
goal
right?
Scorer, number 9, good in the 18-yard box. Vancouver is a team that focus on set pieces, crossing. They're not really a tiki-taka team, but I mean, he's proven goal scorer in MLS, and if that is a move that he wants to manage for his family as well, so that would help him being back in Canada. But if that's
again for me, I would hope that he kind of, if he's not going to play there, I hope he'd move somewhere else and keep grafting over there. Mm-hmm. For me personally, because I'm looking at it from where like in 3.5 years, I want these guys playing at the highest level possible from the fan perspective. Obviously, he's got to do what's right for him and his family, but like. Mm-hmm. I would hope that grafting kind of continues because that's or also even in general. He's one player who can stay over there and keep playing because we don't, with being where we are ranked, can't send a lot of young kids over right now.
Mm-hmm. And we dropped in the rankings, but I was gonna say like even just being there, knowing him personally, it's like this is what you wanted your whole career. It's like, are you just gonna let it go this easy, or are you gonna keep trying until like, okay, there's no point in trying anymore? Yeah. So hopefully he can stick it out.
There has to be an opportunity at another club over there for him. Like his goal scoring record at Besiktas and stuff. Like it was so solid.
Goal scoring record with Canada. Like yeah. So hopefully wishing him the best as well. But yeah, the Premier League is other than the Man Cities and I didn't expect Arsenal this high, but like it's good. I mean, the parity is not as bad as before. Like now everybody has a fighting chance. At least to make like the top 8. You know what I mean? Because
there's definitely more parity over the top 8. There's definitely more parity over the top 8, that's for sure, which is great to see. The other interesting thing is going to be the fact that like the Premier League clubs are flying right now. They're playing meaningful games every week. No other real, and except for Spain. Spain's the only other league that started. Like jumping to Champions League right away.
Germany Bundesliga hasn't even started. Had they started? They started
end of this month.
Yeah,
they're still in Dubai.
That's what I mean. Damn. And then they play Champions League in February 14th or some shit like that.
Very quickly.
Yeah. And then luckily PSG French league started. They had like 3 games. PSG had 2 league games, and then obviously the game with Ronaldo, Saudi Arabia. What do you think of that game? This could be our last segment.
I didn't even. I watched the highlights. I didn't really watch the game today, but it was just like it was an all-star game. So the PSG guys weren't trying to get hurt. Mm-hmm. You know, Messi scores, Ronaldo scores. You're like, okay, that's part of the script. Everyone expected that, which is still absurd.
Yeah. Bro, it's actually unbelievable. Like we were talking in our group chat and we're like, yo, you think the PSG guys definitely got paid? He's like, yo, this game should have been like at least like 5-6 nothing early. If these guys are really trying. Juan Bernat got a red card in like the first.
Yeah.
What are you doing? It's a charity match. Like guys came to watch everyone play, not PSG down a man.
Yeah.
Like so, Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe, Ronaldo, they all played 60 minutes. Sergio Ramos got on the score sheet as well. It was nice to see like Ronaldo, like engaging with all of them. Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just nice. Like Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Mbappe, Keylor Navas, Ramos, all these guys used to play against each other, with each other. Like it's unbelievable. Mbappe just looking at from the outside in, he's like, damn, these are some legends. And he's a legend himself. But like those guys, Ramos and Ronaldo versus Messi and Neymar, bro, you know what I mean? So it's a whole different ball game. Now they're all on the same team and playing against each other. So it's actually kind of cool. Yeah, PSG played a lot of the youth guys. PT Martinez, who was at Atlanta United, was on the All-Star team for the Saudi Arabian team. And yeah, it was a good atmosphere. People paid tons of money to watch that game.
Stupid amount of money.
Yeah,
And
one guy
hey,
paid
five, what was it, 5-4?
mil. 5-4. You got nine goals. Your superstar scored.
9 goals in 90
Superstars got
minutes.
assists.
That's not bad.
Yeah. You enjoyed it. That's all that matters, So happy to see two of the best players ever. Actually, 5 of the best players ever. If we're gonna really say that.
That gets tough, man. I don't know. You can say it. Like
No,
when you go
no,
down.
I'm saying like Messi, Ronaldo. They're two of the top 5 best players ever.
Yeah.
And then Messi's my GOAT. And then Ramos
Same.
top 3 center backs ever, just based on numbers.
Oh,
Based
that's
on numbers.
tough. Really?
Based on numbers. Accomplishments, numbers. And he came from a right back to a center back. Didn't play center back his whole career. Played
That's
half
hard.
center back, half right back. And then
that's hard,
if you take into consider this is the big caveat. But I always say, like, if you take into consideration, obviously his red card accumulation, he missed a lot of games from all his red cards. I'm like, bro, I understand for you to be able to win all that stuff, and you have the most yellows in La Liga history, most reds in La Liga history. That is wild to me. But yeah, I mean, so I'll give him top 3, top 5, and then Mbappe, the young up and coming superstar. So it's actually kind of dope. It was nice to see, and luckily no one got hurt. So
that's the most important thing, right? Can you imagine
just
someone's season ends in that game? Oh, that would have been brutal.
No one got hurt. Everybody got their pockets full, and we move on from there.